I seen a clown in real life the other day.
I seen a clown in real life the other day. I seen a clown in real life the other day.
Bam! Clown car number 6. This is gonna be a solo edition of the clown car, which is cool because we're gonna talk about like what we're doing here. The whole point of me, I guess, doing this podcast is to talk about the more analytical side of comedy, which I'm super interested. I'm not sure how interesting it is to anybody listening that's not a comic, but I guess I kept on watching podcasts and I kept on finding those parts where like comics would talk about the more analytical side of the industry, of them trying to figure out a bit or anything like that. And I just kept finding myself trying to find those parts of podcasts. And I was like, oh, we should just try to do this with, your peers, the people you're doing comedy with, which I find more interesting than more, I guess, famous comics a lot of times, just because I just feel like there's a lot of honesty that comes from people that are still trying to actively pursue something without being 100% successful in it yet, at least to like society's eyes. And I think that brings just a lot of genuine perspective, especially in the midst of still learning how to do something like stand-up comedy, especially in the Midwest. I've been doing comedy in the Midwest for the last 7 years. I've helped run clubs. I've done random open mics that are 3 hours away. I've done random shows that are 6 hours away, and you drive all the way there and you're featuring and it's cool, and then you get there and you get heckled the entire time. It's crazy. They say it's supposedly 7 years in to be a decent comic, and it's just so interesting how you just continue to learn so much. And again, especially in the Midwest, I just think it's kind of not uncharted territory, but like not very well known, I guess. The act of trying to pursue comedy in a place where there's not a ton of comedy readily available, I guess, in my perspective, just because I started in an area that's like between Indiana and Michigan, and there are not clubs here. There was, I found one club that was 40 minutes away from me when I was 18, and I just went there, and I've just been doing it ever since. And when I arrived there, it was just a dead open mic with a bunch of self-deprecating 40-year-old men, and you're just like, okay, I guess this is what comedy is. Which is so interesting. And it's crazy because here I remember going to a festival and hearing somebody try to break down a submission clip, and what you need in a submission clip, and why you need your best jokes in your clip, and how you need to grab the attention right up front. And just hearing somebody analyze the act of actually trying to be proactive about a certain aspect of comedy, and I was just completely just in awe of that. And I just thought it was so cool because I was already in comedy for like maybe 2 years at that point, and then hearing somebody that's seen a lot of different scenes and worked with a lot of different comics just break certain things down, you're just like, oh wow, this is so cool. I love that. And I love hearing that from comics that I'm coming up with, and my peers. I love hearing their perspective because I guess I just appreciate them. That's one of my favorite things about comedy, and that's why I got into producing comedy, is because I love to see great comics be great comics, especially my friends. I love that, man. I love that so much. And then to hear somebody that you get to know personally, that's also pursuing such a different art form in their own perspective, is so cool. And how that can just, amplify what you're doing as well. And just gaining that perspective is just so valuable and so interesting. I could talk about it forever. And that's kind of why we're trying to do the Clown Car. We're trying to get into the more behind the scenes things with comedy, which is also interesting because a lot of times doing stand-up, like as an audience member, you go in there, especially if you're not in a comedy community, you don't know why they do certain things. You don't know why there's a host up front and how they have the most important job of the night to set the tone for the entire show. So there's a lot of things that, just the general audience member going to see a stand-up show that's not super into the whole behind-the-scenes thing of comedy aren't aware of. And it's interesting to try to talk about that, because also I'm sure there's some comics that would probably hate that we're trying to, I guess I'm talking about the more analytical side of comedy, because it could possibly take the more magic, the magic aspect away from it, of doing something in front of people, which is weird too. It's weird coming from that perspective. And I love doing this. This has been, we're only 6 episodes in, but this is super cool. It's also, as somebody that's trying to seriously try to do something with, stand up and whatever the hell I have going on, having a different lane of content, super cool. It's super fun. And because when I'm trying to hone my social media presence, I'll record clips of me doing my bits or anything else like that, and then I'll share them. But then there's a fear that you have somebody that's seen that clip online come to see you, and they're like, oh, I already know the punchline to this, and then it's not as good. It's not doesn't have the element of surprise to it. So doing something like this is super, super cool, to not have to be able to produce content and not be afraid of it possibly ruining my stage presence or a performance of mine in the eyes of someone else. It's so interesting. It's been so interesting, everything I've been able to do with comedy and all the amazing people that I've met, and it just it's really cool. It's a very interesting thing to be able to connect with a community of people all doing the same thing, I guess, just because, that sounds like a regular thing that I'm sure so many people have with their passions and stuff like that. But it's cool, man. It's very vulnerable. Doing stand up, a lot of it is just you being yourself. And me, I've been doing stand up since I was 18. So a lot of my, own personal development has been a mixture of me going through my youth and also being on stage and finding my voice while doing that. So cool. It's such a vulnerable art form in that sense. And it's a huge thing that I love about it. And I love seeing other comics develop and find their voice as well. It's amazing, man. I guess this is just me talking about how much I love doing this thing. I guess maybe that's what this episode is. But that's cool too. I love that. I love that so much. Just being hey, I'm gonna record me talking about how much I love this thing that I do. I think more people should do stuff like that. I think we should all pursue to record ourselves and talk about how much we love doing a thing, because that's so cool. Oh man, yeah, it's crazy. And it's something that I never expected from doing this, was being like finding myself as a young entrepreneur. I never thought about that. I just wanted to do comedy. And then I started being like, oh, nobody's giving me the opportunity to go do 20 minutes. I was waiting, at the beginning of me doing comedy, I was waiting 7 days to do 5 minutes of comedy. And that's crazy. And maybe you need that, like, starting off doing comedy just to figure it out. But at the same time, it's like, if you want to get better at something, you just got to figure out how to do it more. And so when I was doing that, I was like, okay, now how do I get more time? And then, I started producing other shows and talking to other businesses and business owners that are much older than me. I started producing comedy when I was like 20. And just trying to figure out how these people would let me, do my thing in their establishment. And then I'd have to figure out how to get people there, So it's crazy what it's led me to do, as far as like networking with small businesses in a local area and other things like that. It's so cool, man. I know for me, starting an LLC and trying to figure out how to make it a lucrative side hustle on top of working a regular day job. It's crazy, man. And all that is like, just trying to get more stage time. That's what it's always been too. This last year and a half, I've been driving almost roughly 2 hours for almost every show that I've done that wasn't something else I produced or just a random gig that wasn't gonna be consistent. Just to work out a new bit, just to do 5 minutes, just to have a bit that I haven't even completely thought out, and just see if it has any legs. It's crazy. It seems absolutely ridiculous. I have an app that tracks my mileage, and I seen when I drove last year. It just makes you sick, but it's what you got to do if you really want to do your thing, especially I guess if you want to do stand-up comedy in the Midwest, that's that's what you got to do, man. And it's been a really cool thing. It's helped me develop so much as a person, made me figure out different things about myself as an adult. Again, like just trying to make something happen in a place that doesn't have that thing. It's crazy, man. Bam! Time warp. I had to cut the episode short yesterday because I had dinner obligations, as one does. And I was just talking about doing comedy in the Midwest and how weird it is. But definitely just support your creative friends. Go on through, check out their stuff. Check out my stuff. I am doing guerrilla comedy, it seems like. And that means doing comedy in places that doesn't usually do comedy. May 6th, I'm gonna be at a show, a fundraiser show for Sinbad, actually, in Benton Harbor, in a church. So that is gonna be very, very interesting. Definitely check out. I'm not sure what the event page is or any information on it off the top of my head at the moment, but I'm sure if you look up Sinbad May 6th, Benton Harbor, Michigan, you'll be able to find that. I'm going to be at 3 Sheets in Michigan City, Indiana, April 29th. I think that's a Monday, which, again, is going to be interesting. I'm going to be opening for bands. Again, guerrilla comedy. Is it going to be good comedy? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Traditionally, having comedy in places that doesn't have comedy regularly is a real gamble. I have come to find out. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be shows that I don't have to drive 2 hours to, so that'll be very nice. Comics, if you're watching this and want to check out the Clown Car, being here, being in the, talk about your stuff, hit me up through my not through my Instagram, my Facebook probably be the best way to do this. Yep, just message me on Facebook. Book me on your shows too. If you got anything going on, yep, throw me on there. And yeah, let's do the thing. Make sure you subscribe to this if you watch it. Check out all my other stuff on Instagram, TikTok, Scar Comedy, and like, share, or perish. So cool. Thanks.